into real, live, practical application. That is, saying no to other people's faces, and voicemail, and inboxes, and pre-printed RSVP cards, and more. Oh, yes. Mark my naughty words. You are listening to a veritable encyclopedia of examples containing a cornucopia of comebacks and a plethora of polite replies. There are at least 415 distinct ways to say no, nein, and non merci. Many more, in fact, but I got tired of counting. And speaking of that bonus PDF, Fuck No has charts and graphics and an exercise of fill-in-the-blank words, which is akin to Mad Libs, but not called Mad Libs because the name Mad Libs belongs to someone else. From the daily concerns of adding events to your calendar and to-dos to your list, to the infrequent but no less burdensome prospects of being expected to plan your 25th high school reunion just because you were the class president, checks calendar 25 years ago, or executing a too-big project on a too-short deadline. To the rare request to be your best friend's sperm donor. If you want to say no but can't find the words to actually, literally, definitively say so, it will be my pleasure to put them in your mouth. Have you been invited to a dog's birthday party, perchance? Or been asked to take on additional work for no additional pay? Does your landlord want to raise your rent without fixing the water heater? Are you feeling pressured by an overzealous stylist into changing your look? Do your parents wish you would at least consider having that tattoo removed before your sister's wedding? Never fear. I will show you how to say a firm yet pleasant no to all of these enervating entreaties and more. I say no all the time, to my friends and family, to prospective clients, and to producers who want me to get up before my customary 10:30 a.m. to appear on their morning radio shows 3 time zones back. Sometimes I propose an alternative. Sometimes I take a hard pass. In any case, practice makes perfect. And this book represents the full length and breadth of my no files, one of which is bound to apply to that bar mitzvah you've been hoping to avoid for the last 12 years. Yes, these days saying no is kind of my specialty. But my life wasn't always no thanks and fuck that. No, it wasn't. I know whereof I speak. Before I became an internationally renowned setter of boundaries, I was the poster child for saying yes when I really wanted to say no, only to be left wondering why in God's name I'd thought, sure, I can host your baby shower, was easier and better than simply having found a nice way to decline. If you're at all familiar with my work, this example in particular should be an indication that I was not operating in my current no fucks given state of mind. Well into my 30s, I was a next-level people pleaser. Day in and day out, you'd hear me say, yep, no problem, and okay, I can do that. Even when it was a problem, and I couldn't do it, or shouldn't do it, or just didn't want to do it. Sometimes I felt powerless in the face of peer pressure. Sometimes I put too much pressure on myself. And all too often, I didn't listen to the little voice in my head warning me that saying yes was a bad idea. I said it anyway and hoped it wouldn't be that bad. Listener, it was almost always that bad. A brief list of things I regret having agreed to during those first 3+ misspent decades includes, but is not limited to, doing other people's homework, lying to cover for a friend, having sex with an awful person, hiking, eating sushi, taking jobs for less money than I was worth, starting a doomed sci-fi imprint at the last publishing house I worked for, and letting someone else book plane tickets on my behalf that resulted in me traveling from Montana to New York via Seattle. Truly, you haven't lived until you've spent 2 hours flying west wedged next to a panicking lady of indeterminate illness who forgot to pack her medication, only to land at SeaTac for a 5-hour layover before backtracking across the country on a red-eye to Newark. Eventually, all those regrettable yeses and thousands more accumulated to induce my own personal breaking point. I wouldn't say I snapped exactly, but I did quit my 15